Vandaag bij het kabinet van de president heeft Patrick Pouyan, de CEO van Total Energies, het finaal investeringsbesluit voor de ontwikkeling van het Grand Morgo offshore olieproject aan president Chandrika Persat Santokhi van de Republiek Suriname overhandigd. Total Energies heeft het investeringsbesluit getekend voor een offshore olie- en gasontwikkeling van meer dan 10 miljard US-dollars in Suriname, de eerste van het land. Tijdens deze activiteit werden er verschillende toespraken gehouden, waaronder de CEO van Total Energies, Patrick Pouyan. De directeur liet weten dat het bedrijf bereid is hun ervaring te delen met Suriname.
Very important moment, historic day probably for Suriname, but also a very important event for Total Energies and our friends and partner of Apache, because it's really quite it's a very landmark project, I would say, in this prolific basin that we managed to put together. We began this journey in 2019. We made 5 discoveries. Finally, after discovering gas, we find oil, and enough oil, I would say, to launch these oil projects. It's a giant project, it's a giant deep water project, more than $10 billion, 220,000 barrels per day. So it will be one of the largest FPSO we ever built and designed. 32 wells, 200 kilometers of subsea lines. So it's an impressive project. We have some experience with it, and we are very happy to bring our expertise and our capacity of innovation to Suriname and to the people of Suriname. I would insist on two parts, which in my brief statements. First is taking care of the environment. The motto, the strategy of Total Energies is more energy, less emissions, more cash. It's coming with. But more production, more energy, it's exactly what we do today. Less emissions, because this project has been designed to minimize the greenhouse gas emission. The floating unit is all electric. It's without flaring, so it's a closed flare, zero routine flaring. It's designed to lower the emissions under 16 kilograms of CO2 per barrel, which is less than the average of all what we have done in our history. I would say there will be also a permanent network of detection of methane on board. It's the first time we do that in our company, and it will become a standard all over the place. The second aspect of the project is important for the people of Suriname, of course, is the local content. Out of the $10 billion, we intend to spend here in Suriname more than $1 billion, between 1 and 1.5 billion. It will create jobs, direct jobs, 2,000 jobs in next years, and indirect jobs, around 4,000 jobs, drilling services, logistics, support to operations, and of course we'll have to train young Surinamese in order to become the future operators on board of the FPSO. You will have to wait a little, because today we are in end of 24. The production will come in 28, for sure. I promise to the President 28. I don't tell you the months, because you know it's a long journey. In fact, the project has already started, because we ordered the hull of the vessel a few months ago to be sure to secure the hull, and it's being built already on a Chinese yard. So I'm sure, and this is on the critical path, this hull and the vessel. So it's a strong commitment from all of us, and again. And finally, a last word I said it, but to say thank you to Anand and all his team, because we have beat the record, the world record, sanctioned last year, end of appraisal last year, September, October 23, sanctioned September 24, October 1st, or September 30, I don't know what is the official date, but it's the same. That's a record, 1 year from appraisal to the sanction. I'm very proud of it. It was a challenge I gave to my team, as I think promising it to the President. But it would have not been possible without our strong support of a partner, Apache. I always call you Apache. I have a difficulty with APA. Sorry for that. And also without a strong support. And Anand told me intense work, but constructive work with Satsoli, and again, it would have been not possible without its partnership. So my wish is that we continue like we have done it until sanction. We keep the mindset and the strong spirit of partnership, because the hard work was done before, but now we have to do other work, which is to spend this $10 billion in the budget and in the planning. It's fundamental for all of us and for the Surinamese people who are expecting, of course, the benefits of the production, but you will have to wait 28, even if in between we'll create jobs and services. And so I'm sure that it will create economic activity here in the country, and we are very happy to go together.
Volgens Aran Jagisser, de algemeen directeur van Staatsolie, kan dit project voor veel inkomsten zorgen.
In the past year, of course, we have intensely had discussions with Total, but it was always constructive. Many hours were spent, but eventually came to this great moment whereby we announced FID. And it's natural that parties protect their interest. And I must say, Total has protected their interest, but Suriname, the regulator, has protected our interest as well. And there, somewhere, you find common ground, which was found. We want to thank Total for being constructive, and we respect you also for being firm, because you have to always protect your interest. I can tell you now, Suriname will never be the same. And for sure from 28 on, but even before that, because between FID and the first production, there will be a lot of change as well. You might not know, but in the IMF framework, the oil production from the offshore was not recognized. So that's why it was so strict. But they have promised that from this moment on, this will be incorporated in the macroeconomic framework. Will give a huge relief to the Surinamese country, because Suriname can do a lot more for the population of Suriname because of that. The local content will increase strongly. The last 5 wells from Total were drilled from Suriname, and they spent $90 million in Suriname. In this project, they will drill 32 wells. So you can imagine, and the CEO of Total has mentioned that 1 billion of this 10 billion plus will be spent in Suriname. I must say, I'm very proud of our Surinamese contractors, because the port is operating at full capacity and very well. But there was one of the contractors that came to Suriname to see if some jumpers, welding jobs, could be done from Suriname. And their report was, everything they saw in Suriname was far above expectations. So we're confident that some welding job will also be done in Suriname. And then, of course, a lot of good, but also bad people will flock into Suriname. I hope we, Suriname, become better in recognizing the difference between good and bad. But of course, all these persons that will come to Suriname will need a hotel, they will need a cab, they will go to restaurants, they will visit shows, they will buy souvenirs, they'll make fancy stuff that you guys make. So this will bring a huge spin-off for our country. And that is all the things that will happen before 28. And then from 28 on, we'll get the direct income from the Gran Morgu project. These incomes will be so high that even under poor governance, you will not notice anything. You will notice progress. And this is the danger of oil, big revenues from oil. Because you will not see anything in the first 20 years, or maybe 40 years. And then, because oil is not infinite, it runs out, and prices fluctuate, sometimes 90, sometimes 9, and then governments come into trouble. And we have a lot of populist examples in the world, but the biggest are, of course, Venezuela and Nigeria. And we have a great risk of becoming those as well. So we will have to have good governance, and I want to emphasize populist, because the oil is not even there, and we are already inundated under uncountable populist statements. You have heard them all. So we have to have good governance, otherwise we'll be penniless in the future. And believe me, it's not a possibility, it's a sure outcome, because this is economic principle, undeniable economic principle. If you're popular, you set prices in the market, you will eventually run out of capital like Venezuela has with a lot of resources, one of the biggest oil reserves in the world. Alcoa has been here for 100 years. Staatsolie has been here for 44 years. I cannot speak of Alcoa, but I can speak of Staatsolie. We spent more than 4.5 billion. We transferred more than 4.5 billion US dollars to the government. Look around you in Suriname, there is nothing tacit that you can see. So I warn us all, including myself, that we have to take care of the governments. This Gran Morgo project will create mega incomes, 3 billion US dollars in peak years. So it's as big as the GDP of Suriname, as I previously mentioned. And let's not say, after 60 years or 100 years, when Total leaves, that they left nothing behind. Because this project has very good income for Suriname, very, very good. We mentioned between 16 and 26 billion, but with the upsides that we currently see, that could be higher, and with higher oil prices, that is also higher. This has to be very well managed. Even if we make this much income, eventually the oil will run out. Prices might fluctuate a lot, so we have to really care about the good governance.